Good evening, parents, families, students. We're really excited that you're here tonight. We are happy that you are on our school's PLP. So my name is Jenny Sotner. I'm here with Christy Olson. She's the one waving. And we are your orientation hosts. We work for the school district, and we would like to introduce the actual PLP specialists that we have, who are Tracy Presley. She's the program coordinator for PLP. And then we have Amy Cott. Will you wave, Miss Presley? And then we have Amy Cott.
I see everybody.
Andrew, how come I can't see everybody else?
Okay, so I'm going to first ask, can everyone mute themselves? And then, just so we don't have any background noise, and then if you have a question, you should be able to message me your question directly. And I did hear somebody ask, how can you see everyone's faces? And there's a little grid view in the upper right-hand corner. You might be only looking at like a single face. If you're looking at the active speaker video, if you click on grid view, you can see everyone. Okay, so like I said, my name is Jenny Sotner. I'm here with Christy Olson. We're kind of guiding this orientation tonight. Tracy Presley is really the program coordinator. She's here to support you and answer your questions. And then we have our PLP instructors. They are LHUSD teachers and PLP instructors. We have Amy Koch. We have, are you waving, Amy? We have Katie Chirillo, wave. And then we have Christy Donahue. These are the, Katie and Christy are specialized in elementary PLP and will be teaching or grading those classes. I have one more person in the waiting room. Can you give me just a moment so I can let her in? Thank you. Okay, tonight, we are going to take a look at some of the interactive features that PLP offers for your students. We're going to share how LHUSD is still going to support you and your student, and share some opportunities to stay connected to whichever school it is that is kind of your home base school. So one of the first examples we wanted to share, this is from a 3rd grade assignment, and you can see something really nice about PLP is that everything is organized and condensed to one central location. You click on one link, you log in, all of the assignments are sequential. Students need to go in order, and it can be tracked how much time that they're spending working on each of these activities. And the activities are often interactive. So for example, this one is a click and drag. They click and drag, drop the response into the appropriate box. Another example I wanted to share, I'm going to click one more. This one is from an 8th grade level. However, games like this are really prevalent throughout the learning. So in the lessons, they'll often have it organized by a read it, practice, play, show, and this example is one of the play examples. So they really try to do the most that they can to keep students engaged, and each lesson is small enough to keep their interest, and then there's an activity that goes with each one.
All right. So we want to ensure you that you are going to have support through the Lake Havasu Unified School District. And that top level of support comes from Tracy Presley, who is our PLP program coordinator. She is available to you Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. And she is even able to schedule evening appointments with you upon request. And there are a couple of different ways that you can contact her. You can contact her through the phone number posted there on the screen, or you can contact her through that calendar link that you see right there. Now, here's the beautiful thing. If you need to find that calendar link, you will find it on the LHUSD website. that is home to the PLP homepage. So you'll go to the LHUSD website, you'll find the PLP homepage, and there you will find Mrs. Presley's calendar link. So again, she's available to you throughout the school day, Monday through Friday, as well as evenings as needed. So that's one layer of support that is provided by the district. Additionally, our LHUSD instructors, who are also PLP instructors, are going to support your students. They are going to provide them timely and actionable feedback on those assignments so that they can move forward with success, and they are going to be providing the grades for you. So be assured that you have a certified LHUSD teacher who will be grading your child's assignments. Additionally, they're going to be able to respond to you or your student within 48 hours. Again, we want to make sure that you can directly contact those teachers. You can contact them through their LHUSD.org email. So that's first name, period, last name, and then that LHUSD.org. Or again, you can directly message them through PLP, which remember, that's on the LHUSD website. On the PLP homepage, you can reach those teachers. We are here to support you and your students so they are successful in this learning.
Another key facet of this program that we want to emphasize is that you are still part of our school district. You are still connected to your school. We want you as families to feel that, and we want your students to feel that too. So think about ways to stay connected. Think about connecting through your PTA or your PTSO. Stay connected on their Facebook pages. Still have your students dress out for those rainbow days. If there is an activity, if they are having a book fair, you can still participate in all of those things. Any sport or club that is currently active, we encourage your student to still participate in. So as much as you are able, we want you to feel like you are still connected to our district. They are an LHUSD student, and we recognize that. So we also wanted to mention that at any point in time, you are welcome to transition back to in-person learning, whatever the circumstances are that are happening in your family or for your specific context. We know that you are in PLP right now because that's fitting your needs. If at some point it's no longer serving your family and you would like your student to come back to face-to-face learning, that is absolutely available. The last thing we wanted to share was another last layer of how to stay connected to LHUSD. The website is, again, you're going to be your starting point for that PLP. There's a PLP page that shows all of our instructors' contact information, their images, and the link to get to PLP. So it's all in just one centralized location. And then for just kind of that more like social aspect of staying connected to the district and to your teacher and your school community, we are on Facebook, and then we are also on Instagram. So just consider being a part of that to keep that collaboration going. And we know that there are specific questions that you came with this evening, and we want to honor and respect that. So in the chat box, it's hard with so many people to just speak your question, but if you'll click on chat, you can send a question to me. I'll share it out to the whole group. And then I'd really like to give our a PLP coordinator and our teachers time to answer those specific questions that you have that Christy and I maybe have not yet touched on. So I'm going to take a moment and take a peek at the chat and see if we have anyone in here who's posting a question. And then PLP teachers or Tracy, if there's something that you feel like we needed to share, you can message it in there too, or just feel free to jump in. Okay. So to verify, in order to start the PLP course, do I need to start out at the LHUSD website. I think what we were sharing was the link to the PLP can be found on the LHUSD website, but once you have that link and you're comfortable going straight to the link, then you would not necessarily need to start at the LHUSD website. Another question that's coming in is, would there be any handwriting assignments in their homework? Can a PLP teacher speak to that?
Our students are asked to write and take pictures and upload those. I think Kristen levels for sure, but there are times where you are asked to write on paper, take a picture with your phone, and upload it to PLP. Christy, Katie, could you chime in?
There's a couple families who don't have printers and things like that, so I accommodate to people's needs. So if they are unable to complete an assignment due to that, they can email it to me instead, or they don't have to necessarily print it out. But.
And I'll just follow up with that. For kindergarten to 6th grade, you do have assignments where you have to write or type your spell times each, or write or type each word in a sentence. For the younger, we'll have a little bit of expressing. So it's for the little ones, for us to see are they able to learn everything, and give them some tips on how they can improve it. As they get older, typing is more appropriate because they're basic kind of story. But there are handwriting, like Katie said, it is, we will accommodate your family with support you.
You're going to need are LP. So if, for instance, you need minutes writing statement, you can do that as well.
I'm not sure if it's glitching for all of you, but I'm going to ask the group if you would use the video. The teachers don't use your video. So if our teachers really want the parents and families using the video, I will stop that glitching because our recording is to share with families who have gotten a chance to come to this presentation. So the next question was, when will the students begin on PLP if they just registered? And I believe the answer is Monday when we return from fall break. Tracy, is that correct?
I have actually been sending personalized emails to those of you that I have gotten into schools PLP. And because we had entry grades, students are able to start work so they can actually kind of look at things now and progress. But you'll want to go ahead, you should check your mail, your email. I have done about 3 schools. I'm working on the other 3. So if you haven't received an email from me by day, make sure that you get registered. But again, we're working on that to try to get all of you in. And again, everything is going to be in that email of where you start, how you log in. Here, there's a video. So I provide a lot of support, hopefully, to all of you so that you understand what you need to do. I do know that on Monday, I think I sent some emails out already, and today I sent a bunch, and I've already seen those little kiddos working. So it's exciting. So I'm really pleased to see all of you here tonight as well.
Thank you. So there's another question similar. Will new students be starting classes now when they have received the email, or do they wait until October 12th? I think that they could decide that on their own. So if they wanted to start now, they could, or they could take that traditional fall break and then have their students start Monday. And then I have a question about a loaner computer. Now that distance learning is over and she's on PLP, can she continue to use the loaner computer? And I believe the answer is yes. Tracy, do you want to say if I'm correct or not?
We do have some computers that were donated from the Realtors Association. So if you would just message me if there is an issue with a computer at your home so that we can get you one. We have limited numbers, but certainly message me. So I know sometimes you have 5 people trying to share one computer. And so if it is limiting to you, definitely make sure that you let us know and we can get you a computer.
Okay, thank you. But they can keep the one they currently have checked out from their school that they're connected to.
I do believe so, unless the school directs otherwise. I have
they can keep the one. So if they were given a computer before, then they can continue to keep that. The schools know that.
Thank you, Ms. Vesta.
You're welcome. Sorry.
Let's see, next question. Will grades that are currently established with the school district from this quarter carry over? And I believe that that answer is yes. So the quarter grades carry, and then they're beginning, I guess, like a second quarter when they are logged into PLP or once they begin in PLP. And I see a question about how do we get scheduling times for like picture day? This is a great question that I'm just going to jot down on my end, and we will have the schools communicate that out because I think that's important and we want them to participate in that. So let us figure out what that is going to look like. Thank you for asking, Melissa.
Jenny, we do it through Schools PLP. We are able to send messages to our students, and then parents, you can log in as a parent, or you can certainly log in as a student and see all those messages that are coming to your child. But I just sent messages out last week to all of our high school students about picture days. I send messages out about fall break, that as long as they're caught up and on pace, that they don't have to continue working, those kinds of things. So there's a ton of messages that we do send, and it's all in one platform. So there's not going to be a class like a Google Classroom or their Havasu online email where they're getting this. It's all through the platform. And the nice feature is the student has to read those messages before they can actually enter into their classroom work. So I think that's a great feature that will keep them updated. And I will communicate as soon as I know, and I know that teachers do communicate both to the whole group and then also individually to students.
Thank you. And so if there are any lingering questions at the end of this, the way that we'll share that information out is via that platform, so that it's just consistent. All information will come through your PLP and via those announcements. There's a question about what the steps to registration are. That's for you, Tracy. How do they register?
So if you have already notified your school, your home school, that you want to do PLP, then I have already received an email. If not, what you need to do is contact them tomorrow and let them know that you want to go to Schools PLP, and then I will work on getting you moved into the classes and enter those grades. And then you do get a personalized email with all of this information in it, of your username, login, and how to access your classes.
Thank you. There is a question about, are there homework packets to pick up? Are there paper packets for them to pick up? And the answer to that is no. On PLP, everything is right in that one location. You log in and everything is there for you. Another question, what's the length of the online classes during the day? So what's a good expectation? Maybe one of the elementary teachers could speak to this. What's an average that those students should be spending on their school?
It really depends on the grade and the specific unit or lesson that they're in. So sometimes they can accomplish 2 or 3 activities in one day in a subject. Other times there's a lot of reading. The older students may have to do some good note taking as they're going through new material to prepare for a practice test or a unit quiz. So it really depends on the activity and the lesson. The younger children, if they've got great support, kindergartners can knock out several activities because it's really more of a discussion or a short activity that they can do with their parent. But as the grades progress, as the older students, their activities take a little bit longer. So I don't know. Katie, do you have anything to follow up on that?
I think like what you said pretty much covers exactly what I was thinking. It definitely varies from grade to grade, and I would say like when I check in on like what a student has accomplished that day, I would say that students do like maybe at least 3 to 5 a day, but it varies. Sorry, I can't be more specific.
No, I think that's great. And I know there is a pacing guide that kind of helps keep them on track. So I would maybe suggest using that and making it a little bit flexible for your schedule is one of the benefits of PLP. So if they have some extra time on a day, then do a few extra assignments. And if there's a day where they don't have that time, then it's okay to adapt and just be a little bit flexible.
I can answer a little bit of that too. I'm just looking at some students who've been in and doing some activity this week. So I have a student who's worked for 9 hours this week and has submitted 54 activities. And so an activity could be something like reading the objective or reading an outline or submitting a homework assignment, doing a little tiny 1 or 2 question item and then submitting that. I have a student who spent 5.7 hours and who's done 4 activities. So that may have been where they struggled or they had a little bit of trouble with some reading. We have some actually have a student right now who is active, which is wonderful. So parents, you can actually see how long your students have taken with a specific activity. We have students, and so it's looking like they're spending on average anywhere between 2 to 3 hours a day, and that's not all at once. So a lot of our littles will get online for about 50 minutes, and then they'll take a break, and then they'll come back, and you see those break times in there. So, and I guess the nice feature about Schools PLP is that if your little wants to start with math in the morning, they can certainly do that, whatever they're best at or whatever they want to get out of their way first. Or some students choose to do math for the whole week on one day, and then they do science the next day. So it's really, it's very, very flexible for you as long as the students are doing their activities for the week and staying on top of their pacing guide. They should do everything that they need to do.
Thank you, Tracy.
I did also want, in line with what Tracy was just saying, I wanted to point out that sometimes the list of assignments in Schools PLP can be kind of scary because it's very, very long. However, like Ms. Presley just said, they're not all assignments. Some of them are really read the objective, or it's you read one paragraph and answer one true or false question. So even though it might say that 5, 6, 7 things are due on a given date, they're not all lengthy assignments. They're bite-sized tasks, and they are age appropriate. So they're chunked so that the kids can manage them. So don't be alarmed if you log into a 3rd grade language arts class and it says that there are 28 things due this week, because a lot of them are read this one paragraph, or understand the objective, or answer this one true or false question. It's not as scary as it might look if you just think of quantity.
Thank you, Amy. I definitely think it can be misleading when you do see that list on the side. It's overwhelming, and you're exactly right. I have another question that I think has already been cleared up. It's about the login for PLP, and all of that information should come to you in an email once you're enrolled. Tracy sends you an individualized email. It provides you the information that your student will need and the link. And then that link is also on the LHUSD.org webpage. In the PLP section, you can get to Schools PLP from there, but it makes the most sense to wait for the email from Tracy and then use the login information that you receive and the link to Schools PLP. Tracy, maybe you can share a little bit about for IEP students, who is supporting them or what is in place for those students.
So we just have had some all the students still have their case managers. Case managers will have access to look at grades and support students. The other thing is we allow students up to 3 attempts if they're trying a test or a quiz. So let's say they get a 50% and we want them to have a 70% or higher in the online academy, because we want to make sure they're mastering those skills. And then it will actually let them retry it. They're given 45 minutes for a test or a quiz. We do have the ability to increase that. And so we can group students so that they are placed in kind of a resource group behind the scenes. And then we can also eliminate answer choices, provide some additional support through that. I am available if there is a request for a student. I know sometimes I've got a couple littles that will text me and say, I need a Zoom right now, Miss Presley. They just don't know how to access something, or they don't understand what they just read. That doesn't happen very often, but I am able to Zoom with a little so that you feel that you have that support if they have a question that you just can't answer, or that you need, or that needs to be reset. The other is sometimes we realize in the online world, a student might be click happy and maybe they click the wrong button, and instead of actually moving forward, they actually hit submit, and that assignment goes in as a 0. We allow that student to request a reset, because again, we realize that sometimes things happen. When we first started, we had kids who ended up getting logged out, and whatever assignment they were on got submitted. And so many assignments ended up being zeros at the very beginning, just because they didn't know that they had a limited time to work on those. But those things have been worked out now, so students don't get logged out as quickly as they did before. And if there are things that you need support with, certainly reach out so that we know and can understand, and we'll be working with those case managers to make sure that your students are supported.
Thank you. The next question was about the timeline for returning the work. So I think this is kind of just a mental shift away from distance learning where, or even a traditional classroom where you get an assignment Monday and it is due Tuesday. It does not really work like that in schools PLP. You work at your own pace, even though there is a pacing guide that kind of suggests how far along you should be in a given course to stay on track to the end of the quarter. And then I have a question, lots of questions about logging into PLP, multiples of those. And I just want to make sure I've spoken to it several times. When you get the email from Tracy Presley, it will have the link and the student login, and that's when you can actually access it. Another question about grades, which I think Tracy spoke to, depending on the grades, is there an opportunity to correct their papers for a new grade? And yes, as long as they reach out to the teacher can reset the assignment for them. A question about, there's no school on Friday. If my student has been doing distance learning, are the offices open in order to drop off those paper packets? And yes, the physical schools are still open on Fridays. The teachers will be there from normal operating hours. And a question about how would I contact Tracy Presley about getting a loaner device. If you are interested in getting a loaner device, you can reach her. I think the easiest way to find her contact information is on that LHUSD website, or I can also squeak this back to, I'm sorry, I'm covered with the chat box is covering this slide deck. There you go. So her information is posted. And do we still have Zoom calls weekly? No. You have the option. Some teachers allow you to submit tech tickets or request if there's an emergency, like Ms. Presley said, she's available to Zoom if there's a specific question. But the learning is really at your own pace, at your own timing, and what works for your family. So there are no scheduled Zooms. Will they have AR and be able to test? What a great question that, unless somebody else knows, I'm writing down and we'll have Tracy share on the school's PLP. Now that we started PLP, are all connections with their school over? Well, okay. Is work in the Google Classroom over? Yes. Is the connection to your school and their activities and their events and their picture days over? No. You are still a part of LHUSD. If you are a student at Smoke Tree, then you are still a student at Smoke Tree. The only thing is that you are not going to be logging into that same Google Classroom. You will log into your school's PLP. Are there ever times where students must attend an online live Zoom meeting? No. Is there ever an actual teacher teaching, or is it video teaching like in distance learning? So because the platform is an online platform, the activities are asynchronous, meaning they are not attached to any timeline. So whatever time works best for your student to learn is what time they get to log in and do the activities. And like Tracy and the teacher said, they're really engaging and they're chunked so that students can be successful with those. Will there be fundraisers? I want to say at each school site, I think it's going to depend on what are your PTSOs, your PTAs doing and planning. If your school is hosting a book fair as a fundraiser, then yes. If not, no. Who determines placement for students with an IEP? I'm not sure I know what that means. Tracy, who determines placement for a student with an IEP?
So we work with the case managers to make sure that some accommodations are done. I know we've got a couple of questions about if a student is at the 4th grade level, but they're reading at a 2nd grade level, do they move to a different level? We've got some clarification on that, but it's actually we look at what they are in their current schedule, and then we place those students in that class. And then also the school's PLP teachers know that the student does have a 504 or an IEP and can make accommodations on that end. And then we can also make back end accommodations for a student.
Thank you. A question about the curriculum or the activities and resources that are provided in PLP. Are those the same as what's being taught in the face-to-face buildings? And if not, how will that impact students if they decide to go back to the classroom? So I can say that the curriculum is different. However, what is the same is that it's based on our Arizona state standards. So the curriculum that we teach and the curriculum in the PLP, it's both aligned to Arizona state standards that says what students should know and be able to do. So they will still be learning the appropriate standards for their grade level. And when they are ready to come back in, if they're ready to make that transition, if and when, their teachers will support them in getting them caught up with whatever curriculum is in place. When are the assignments due? Can they turn them in after a due date? Again, completely different system, not really a due date at all, just a pacing guide. How is their work graded? How do I know if they did well on their work? So maybe can a teacher speak to this? How would a parent who wants to keep track of their students' progress do that?
Their grades are available right away, the ones that are automatically graded. So a multiple choice test or where they're having to type in an answer and it's an automatically graded thing. A parent can get feedback right away. The student can also see their score and message their teacher if they want to try it again. The test or the activity may not be exactly the same. There may be a different set of questions, but related to the same material. So it's not like they can just write down their answers or write down what they think are the right answers and then pull the quiz back up and, think it's all good. I hope that makes sense. So, and then teachers, like a lot of times I'll look at a child's work. If they answered 3 out of 4 questions, I'll allow them to retry it and we can write a note to them. The child can see a comment from the teacher. It says, be sure to answer that last question, and then they can do that and then we regrade it and their grade is raised. Anybody else want to speak to that?
I just wanted to comment that parents can actually log in as a parent. It's very easy. As soon as Tracy, Ms. Presley sends you the student login, once you know how to log your student in, you use the exact same username and password as a parent. The only difference is in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a box where you check login as parent, and you use your child's username and password, and you can go in and check all the stuff you want. You can check the pacing, you can check the due dates, you can check, there's a tab at the top that says report card, and it's very detailed. You can see their current grade. We do not put in zeros for missed deadlines. So sometimes the grades can be a little misleading. You might think, wow, my kid has an A or my kid has a B. But if he's 2 weeks behind, really all those missed due dates should be zeros. So you need to pay attention to 2 things, the grade, but then also it'll say if the student is far behind or completely, what is the wording on that? Disengaged. It says he's disengaged or on track. So you can log in as a parent using your child's login. Just click the little box and you can check the report card as often as you want. And Schools PLP is actually pretty easy to use, I think, from the parents' perspective in that point.
I just wanted to add on, I also am frequently monitoring grades for students, and if something comes off as a red flag to me, like, oh wow, this student didn't put much effort into this assignment, or I had to reset this test multiple times, things like that, I reach out to parents and I communicate with them. So I'm constantly communicating with you. Like, if you ever have any questions, like, please feel free. On my page, I have my Google Voice number. I have my email. You can message me through the PLP, whatever's like the easiest way for you to get in contact with me. I just make myself available, and I just think that we're all in this together. We're all learning together, and so I think that if you ever have any questions about like why is their grade the way it is, like, please feel free to contact us. And I know that it's the same for all of the PLP instructors. It's not just me that feels that way. That's all I wanted to say for that.
I did want to add a couple of things. With Schools PLP, we do not mail out or send out any progress reports, because within Schools PLP, it is live, current, up-to-date information. So you can go in, and as long as the teachers have done their scoring on the items that need to be scored, and most often those are writing assessments, or they are English essays that have to be graded. There may be a little project that has to be uploaded, but most of the time everything is done within the platform, and you get immediate feedback. So the grade could change from day 1 to day 2. The other thing, like Amy mentioned earlier, is there's a lot of little mini assessments throughout there. So a lot of times a student may get 4 or 5 grades in one day in a particular class. So there's a lot of opportunity for doing well in Schools PLP. But again, right now we do not put zeros in if a student misses an assignment. And so just really pay attention to those pacing guides. Sometimes we see students fall behind only because they do one little activity when they really should have looked at their pacing guide and they needed to do 4 that day. So just really pay attention.
Thank you.
And also, when you're looking at the grading in the report cards, you can see how much time was spent on every single assignment. So if there was a quiz or an assessment of some sort and you're wondering why is the grade so low, and then it shows that, you know, the student spent 90 seconds on it, that might be something to consider as well. The Schools PLP actually gives us a lot of information and gives the parents a lot of information. So it's a really cool feature.
Another question, how is the work posted? Is it weekly or monthly? And I want to just say again, I know it's really hard to wrap your minds around that all of the work is posted. So you can see the entirety of the class, and then you are just following the pace, and how fast you work is really up to you. So the full course is posted for you as soon as you have access into Schools PLP. And then, okay, a clarification. If you already have a loaner device, somebody asked about this, if you already have a loaner device from a site, then you can keep that loaner device, or if you need one, you would reach out to your site. The devices that Ms. Presley has are for students who are in like a severe need, and I think that they get to keep those devices. Am I correct? Yes. So they are for them to keep. If you need a loaner, then you're reaching out to your school site. Does my student still go to school and pick up her specials work papers? No, the specials are part of PLP, and you can see them in there. PE, art, and music are part of the specials that elementary students have in the PLP. Will we still take the Arizona Merit or Galileo tests? So yes, however, the details of how that is going to look and work are still kind of in progress, and Tracy Presley will be communicating that to you as soon as we know. So yes, They are still going to participate. They're still students in our school district, and they can still participate in that. Just how will be determined. Another question about specials in the PLP. The specials live in the PLP, nothing on Google Classroom any longer. And to clarify, if your student has an IEP, then the online teacher is contacting the resource teacher and making plans for those accommodations. That's already, that will be happening. Is there something, if there is something new for our child, he or she is struggling, how could this student receive more support? Is the parent responsible for teaching? So if the student is struggling, the first step should be to reach out to the teacher, and teachers can often provide additional resources, a try again, a different way of looking at it. We are here to help you and support you. We will provide whatever we can so that your child can be successful. And then, can we still check our student grades in parent view? I do not know the answer to this.
No, the grades are not in parent view. They are in schools PLP. So you actually have to use your student username and login, and then you're going to click the box as logging in as a parent. And again, those are like current fresh grades. So that is the place that you're going to find them. And I know for high school students at semester time, we will be entering their final semester grade into Synergy so that those get stored into their transcript. But at this point, they're not going to be in Synergy.
Thank you. And then, who should the first point of contact be if a student or a parent has a question? Should it be to Ms. Presley or to the teacher assigned? And I would think if the question is about an assignment, you need to redo an assignment, you are struggling with a concept, that would be your teacher. And that if you have a question about the programming, enrollment, the actual platform itself, then that is most likely Ms. Presley. And let's see. What if I finish the entire course ahead of time? Is this based off of the regular school calendar? So if they do finish ahead of time, then they just have a dance party, or what?
No, and that is why we have what we call the pacing guide, is that we've put in our calendar dates so that students cannot work so far ahead. And we know that sometimes students are really strong students, but I think that through Schools PLP, we have ample work for students to do and to do it well. But we actually have built in that pacing guide so that they can't work more than about 4 or 5 days ahead of time. And then, or if the teacher finds that they're moving too quickly, some students are like, oh, I want to get my math done and then I want to work on my science. The teacher can actually do a suspension from class, and that's not like they're like removed from the class or they're kicked out. It just means they don't have access to that class at that moment. And we do that because sometimes students they're really good in a math, and they like math and that's all they want to do. And so the teacher can have that liberty to limit a student if they see that they're going too far ahead and not paying attention to their other courses.
Thank you, Tracy. And I also just wanted to say, it's not just finishing the task, it's learning. So we want them to learn, and we want them to go at a pace that is reasonable so that they're not just clicking and getting things done, but it's just like school. And they have their brains have time to absorb and they have time to think. I am at the end of this enormous list of chat questions. So I'm going to do a last call. I want to make sure that all the families and students that are on this call right now, that you feel comfortable and prepared to start on Schools PLP when you get that email from Ms. Presley, that you know what to expect and you feel confident and comfortable. So I'm going to wait just another moment. Who do we reach back to if we become ready to transition back to face-to-face? That is you, Ms. Presley, correct? Yes. So Ms. Presley, as the program coordinator, is in charge of registration, and she can bring you in and transition you in and help transition you out as well. Oh, I'm so sorry. I missed this one above. I'm sorry to make you type this in twice. A parent noticed, who's already in, noticed that there's an answer key showing for all of the assignments. Is that a error, or I would imagine that is not supposed to be that way. So is that something that this parent should just message the teacher about to go into that particular student's platform and take a look?
Well, I'm wondering if it's where it says AK, meaning answer key. And if that's the case, it's 100% intentional, because a lot of the assignments, I don't want to say assignments, a lot of the activities are simply practice, where the student challenges and makes sure that they're ready before the actual quiz, before the actual assignment. So if it says show it, because you've already read it, you've seen it, whatever, they all have these cute little names. So if you've read it and you've seen it and you've watched it, then you show it. And on the show it, you do it yourself, just on a piece of scratch paper, or sometimes it's on the computer. And then the very next one is the show it AK, the show it answer key. So it's very much intentional. And if you notice on any of those, the actual percentage value of the grade is 0. So those are practices. They don't count towards the overall grade. It's just to guarantee that the student's ready before they go on to the next assignment. So if that's the case, it's on purpose. But if it's something else, then yeah, we need to look into it.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. And I just want to say, having those answer keys in there makes it more aligned with actual teaching, where in a classroom, before you would just teach something and give a student an assignment to do by themselves that would then be a grade, you would do some guided practice where students would practice, have their work checked before they're getting an assessment grade on it. So it really is a best practice. And one more question, which is my child assigned to a teacher for their grade level? Right now, as it stands, our 2 teachers who are handling the elementary students are in this Zoom right now. And I'm going to just go back to their little contact information. Click. Oops. Oops again. Good Lord. Okay, fine. Well, it's just Miss Donahue and Miss Trillo. And those are the teachers. I tried to be cute, but it failed. Miss Donahue and Miss Trillo are grading your students' work, and they are grading all of the elementary students' work. And they are certified elementary in elementary education, which is why they are able to do that. Okay. And with that, I am just going to say thank you for being here. We believe this option. How long will PLP be an option? Until the school year at least. Until the end of the school year at least. PLP be an option. Yes, and most likely be on that. So we don't think this option will be going anywhere. We would like to see it carry on. We want to see it be successful. So we need it for us. I think we've said it maybe 50 times. We're here to support you. We want to help you. We want this program to be a success. If you need something or you have a question, please reach out to your teacher or to your coordinator, and we are happy to help you and your student. Okay, and that's it. And now we'll do the Zoom. Wave goodbye. Are you all ready?
Bye. Thank you.